All right.
All right. Happy Saturday, everybody.
Happy Saturday.
And welcome to our Spoken Garden Live Saturday morning chat.
Yep, we're Sean and Allison McManus, Spoken Garden, if you didn't know. And we go live almost every Saturday on and off. We've had an interesting schedule, but thank you for being here.
I know. We're so excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, today's topic is going to be really fun. Repot or not? Signs of unhappy plants in containers. So we'll get to that in a little bit, but we're going to let people, get in here and get into the chat. Let us know how you're doing in the chat. Say hi. Oh, and tell us where you're coming from, where you're gardening at. We'd love to know.
Yeah, definitely. So, we're just, we're happy to be here with you guys. We can't wait to just reconnect and hear what's been going on in your garden. Mm-hmm. We'll tell you a little bit about what we've been up to in just a minute. It's been a very busy spring.
It has so far.
Fun, really fun.
But really quick too, in the chat, make sure to take the poll. We've got a nice little poll in there just asking, what are you growing in your containers right now, and some fun options.
I know. I mean, I guess we're assuming everybody's growing things in containers. Most of us are, because it's just a great space saver. Containers are so easy to move around if you need to. There's so many just great things. I don't know. I love growing things in containers.
Yeah, and it makes it more fun to. It's more funner. You can design with containers. You can control the flow of traffic with containers. You can add different colors and textures with containers. So it can add a lot to a garden.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But we wanted to say, happy Saturday. Good morning to you if you're coming to us in the morning like we are. We're just kind of getting caught up on our tea and coffee here, just kind of waking up and thinking about the day ahead. And where are you watching us from? Like Sean said, we've got Valerie's here, Tracy's here.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi, you guys. So we asked what have you guys been up to in your garden recently, since we haven't connected with you since about mid-May, I think.
Something like that.
A couple weeks ago, something like that.
Seems like forever.
It seems like a long time ago. Valerie is potting, planting containers, deadheading, weeding, keeping herself really busy, it sounds like.
Really busy. Wow. All right.
It's always funny in the spring. It's like, it feels like things almost go from like 0 to 100, like overnight.
Yeah.
Practically, or like within a week.
It does. It's like somebody flips a switch, God flips a switch, or whatever you believe in. And and all of a sudden the plants turn on, they're growing, they're flowering, and it's just go time.
It's go time. So, and that's where we've been lately. Like it's been literal go time. And so I'm sure like you guys, you're probably just doing all kinds of fun projects. And Valerie, we wanted to mention, we saw a really cool project on Instagram the other day that you posted where you were doing something with billiard balls, like pool table balls. That looked really cool.
Yeah,
so kind of a cool art thing. You'll have to tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Who else is here?
Let's see. Okay, the Divide is here. Good morning.
Good morning, the Divide.
Good morning. Potatoes in containers are the best.
Oh, fun.
That's fun.
Yeah, that's good.
We've grown potatoes in raised beds. I don't think we've ever done potatoes in containers.
Nope, just raised beds.
Try that. That sounds.
Yeah. Brooke Bosley.
Brooke Bosley, hello. I'm in Colorado.
Yeah. Good morning, Brooke.
Hi, Brooke. Carol's here. Good morning from Milwaukee-ish, Wisconsin.
Carol.
I like that, Milwaukee-ish. I'm growing on my balcony, so it's all in containers, she said.
Okay, that's fun. Right on. Good. All right.
Let's see. Let's check the poll. This is fun. Okay, so we're just curious, what are you growing? The Divide mentioned potatoes, and
we've had 5 votes. All right, guys. Woo, so far.
So like I was saying, we're kind of curious, just what are you growing in containers? Because we're kind of like you. Everything's in containers for us, kind of like you, Carol. We don't have a balcony, but we're borrowing space, so we just have like containers everywhere too. Yep. So it's a mix right now between mostly veggies and a mix of everything.
Well, good.
Cool. Okay.
That mix of everything makes it a lot of fun. So
yeah,
and we've got a new video almost ready to come out.
I know.
We've planted some containers, some self-watering containers from Crescent Garden, and so we've got some really fun plants that we bought from a local nursery, and we've got them planted up, and we got a video ready. It's almost there. It'll get there in the next couple days. So look for that coming up.
I know, totally. Yeah. We're excited to show that. That was a fun project. That was really fun.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Valerie mentioned this was fun. We were talking a few minutes ago about just the benefits of growing in containers, right? So Valerie wanted to add, if you're not sure where you want to plant something out in your garden, a container buys you time and lets you place it in different spots.
That's true.
To try it out. I love that.
Good
about
point,
containers.
Valerie.
Such a good point.
Yeah.
Let's see. Tracy mentioned Tracy went to the Point Defiance Flower Show, which was last weekend.
Oh, fun!
That's in Tacoma, Washington, for those of you on the East Coast or Midwest, and braved the rain, and it was a blast. You know, I forgot about that show.
I didn't even know it existed.
We need to look into that because we have friends that present there. I think Sue Getz.
Yeah.
Maybe you saw Sue Getz. She's awesome.
Yeah.
I think Marianne Benetti was there.
Okay,
yeah,
sure.
I know. We'll have to look into that.
I've never heard of it, so
that's fun.
Great.
I'm glad you. Yeah, we're glad
good job, Tracy. That sounds like fun.
Let's see what else is going on.
Well, also, guys, too, we have some new plants. Want to update you? We've got some new plants that we got from proven winners that were sent to us. We can't show them or talk about them until July 1st, so we're waiting until then to bring you all the new information and these new plants that are going to be available next year. But we get to trial them and have them in our garden to talk about to you guys. But only starting on July 1st. I know
that's been hard for us. We want to show you everything because you guys are going to love this stuff.
Yep. So look for that too coming up after the beginning of July. So
which is only a few weeks out. That's nuts.
Yeah. It's coming up.
I know. Carol in the chat mentioned some things that Carol's growing in containers.
Okay.
So tomatoes, kale, peppers, ground cherries, fennel, chives, garlic chives. I make self-watering containers from bottles.
Okay.
That sounds cool.
Sounds fun. Very, very unique. Very, very good. Yeah.
That sounds good. And Valerie wants to know about that too. Tell us more about that, Carol.
Yeah, please, Carol.
I think I've seen that project on Pinterest, maybe floating around in the past. So I want to hear. Yeah. How do you? Does it work well for you? Like, what do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. Well, hey. If you're just getting here, thank you for being here. Make sure to take the poll in the chat. If you're seeing this on the replay, let us know down below in the comments what you're growing in your containers right now. Annuals, vegetables, perennials, a mix of everything, or possibly you're not growing anything in containers right now. So it'd be really fun to hear about all that. So I think with that, we should probably kind of get started unless there's something else you want to talk about.
Not really. I just thought of a funny thing because I'm thinking of all the things that we grow in containers, probably all of us. What is the wackiest, most unusual container you've ever used? Like something from your yard maybe, or like something you've converted into a container? Let us know in the chat. That might be kind of fun to hear.
Yeah, that'd be good. And if you're seeing this in replay, let us know down in the comments. So,
Tracy.
Yeah.
Tracy, we owe you an email still. Tracy, about the eclipse hydrangeas.
So do you have any suggestions about my eclipse hydrangea I sent photos of? Sorry, Tracy, we haven't looked at it yet.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Sorry. We're going to look at that today. We will get back to you right after the live and let you know. So sorry about that.
I'm literally writing this down.
Yeah, we get so many emails.
I'm so sorry.
It gets buried, and we're sorry about that.
Thank you for re-asking that.
Yeah, thank you for reminding us.
I know.
Reminders are appreciated.
We need reminders.
Always reminders.
Oh, Kevin's here.
Hey, Kevin.
Hawaii.
Good morning.
Aloha. Okay, so yeah, you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Are you ready to repot or not?
Are you ready? Yeah, repot or not.
Repot or not.
So here we go.
You know, sometimes you're just not sure, or a plant looks kind of goofy. It just isn't growing the right way that you think it should be, or that all the plant tags tell you it should look, or right?
Sometimes you don't know if you have a happy plant or not. So we're going to show you a couple different signs, actually 5 different signs of what to look for to see, possibly if your plant's unhappy and what to do about it. So we're going to go through those 5 signs, fixes and solutions, and then even a little garden Q&A if you guys want to throw some questions out there or ideas out there about what you've seen. We'd love to hear about that too. So.
Definitely.
All right, so first up, the 5 signs of unhappy plants.
And there's more, but these are the 5 that we chose, right?
Yeah, these are the ones that we're familiar with, that we know what to do. So, oh, I got you. Yeah,
okay.
Move us off the thing there. Okay, that's fine.
So, number 1, pretty clear, visible sign. You have a root-bound plant.
Yep.
And the only way to look for that is to actually pull it out of the pot, or even, I don't know, if you want to put your hands down in the pot and kind of feel around.
Usually the best way to do it is pull the plant out of the pot. Yeah, just pull the plant out of the pot, turn it on its side. If you have a plastic pot, you can just squeeze the side of it and then, loosen that up a little bit, and then just turn the pot on its side or slightly upside down and just let gravity bring it out nice and slow. Cradle the plant so it doesn't break or do anything goofy with the top part of the plant, and then just look at those roots real quick. If you see Any circling roots, kind of like similar to what you see on the screen there of that cordyline, or if they're not that big, even if they're not that big of roots, they're the really fine roots. They're a lot smaller than what you see on the screen, but there's still a mass of them on the outside of the plant at the bottom, or just all up and down the pot. You've got a root-bound plant, and this can be a sign that the plant is really getting to be unhappy, because now it's producing more roots than it has space to grow in soil for.
And we'll get to that we're going to break all 5 of these down into what to look for, and then fixes and solutions. So we'll definitely talk more about that in just a sec.
Yep. So next up we have stunted growth, or, and that's another sign that your plant's not happy. Is it flowering less? Are the leaves yellow or discolored? Is there any weird looking things going on with the plant? And also, lastly, is the plant really looking top heavy? Is it too big on the top for the tiny little pot that it's in?
Which we have a couple of those.
Yes, we do. So with that, let's get into root-bound plants. Now look at those roots.
Oh my gosh,
wow.
Those roots were so thick.
Wow.
This was a plant. So let's give a little backstory, right?
Yes, because it matters.
It does matter.
The backstory matters.
It's the plant story. So this was a plant this is my mom's cordyline, and she had a beautiful blue pot, like one of those clay glazed pots, right? That we all love. We love blue.
Yeah.
And she had this cordyline. I know. I know. We're both wearing blue.
And this is a happy accident. We didn't coordinate this.
I forgot about that. So this cordyline, and first, actually, backstory. Cordylines often are put together in like mixed planters that you buy at Home Depot, for example. I'm pretty sure that's where, well, I know that's where some of our older ones came from.
Yep, they were mixed with a lot of annuals.
Yeah, a lot of annuals.
So it was like a color spot. It was just this instant gratification pot, grab and go.
Yeah, and they're beautiful. They make a great centerpiece, as that thriller. But what a lot of people don't realize around here is that we can actually, in the Pacific Northwest, where we're 8B, 9A, where we are, often you can overwinter them and they turn into a perennial. We have grown these false cordylines for, 4, 5, 6 years in containers, and we don't do anything with them. We just, sadly, this last winter we lost all of them.
So what we found, side story, little side story here. The last couple of years, what we found out is the cordylines will do fine in our climate as long as they're protected in our winter, during our winter, with the really cold, extreme weather. And it's because if they're in containers, the roots are exposed above ground. If they're planted in the ground, then they got all that insulation around them, right? But in containers, they're exposed, and we get extreme temperatures out here of 30, 25, 20, down to 10 degrees sometimes for a week or two. And so even on the coast, even in the Puget Sound area, west side of the Cascades, our mountain range out here. So the cordylines don't like that. They don't like it at all. So what we found is, in the side story, protecting them up against a building or even bringing them inside really helps them. If we don't do that, they die. So unfortunately, we weren't able to do a lot of the protection we usually do with them this last year. We just left them out, and they didn't make it. So, and that's the way it goes.
Including this cordyline. And if you've seen, we made a video about this, and we also made a short.
This one was in the ground.
This one was in the ground.
So, yeah, really quick backstory. So the backstory too is that they're even susceptible above ground on their growing point, because they grow from a central leader and it's wrapped in leaves, and it's just this big wrap of leaves, and the growing tip. They died from the cold. And so they just got blasted. It's like almost like a bud blast, and they just died in the center. And so they're all gone.
And that the one that we're showing you right here, it had this massive roots. It had been growing in this. Okay, so back to the main story here. My mom had this beautiful blue pot, and she put her cordyline in there, and she let it grow and just let it overwinter for years. I mean, years and years.
Did great.
And you can see how, the roots just kept wrapping around and around because they had nowhere to go.
This is a sign that a plant is also thriving under certain conditions too.
Oh, that's a good point. I can't remember where in the front yard she had this, but they usually like full sun.
It's when it gets to a point where it has more root mass than soil to grow in that it gets to be unhappy.
Which is kind of what was basically happening here. It was, if I remember correctly, it was really hard to get out of the pot because the pot sort of had a little round shape to it.
Yep.
So this is where we are right here. We decided to transplant it out of the pot. Do you want to take up that part of the story?
Sure. Yeah. So we took it out of the pot. We found a great spot in Allison's mom's yard. We took it out of the pot, broke up all the roots. We made a video about it too. Was it a long video, or was it a short?
I think it was both.
Okay, we made a short. I remember the short. So if you want to watch that, go back and you can search for that cordyline, transplanting a cordyline. It was about 2022, I think, or 2023.
Yeah, sometime.
So yeah, and so what we did is we found a nice spot, broke up the roots, got it in there, and it took off.
It did.
It literally started shooting up like a rocket within like not even a month of being in its new home. It loved it. And then this past winter, what happened is it got bud blasted. It got hit by that cold weather, and that's it. So, but so with that story, that's where this plant came from, leading up to that point of transplanting into the ground. You can see those roots. I literally took a hori knife and sawed through each. I quartered it. I did sawed through the side, and then a quarter this way around, and then a quarter this way. So I had 4 different cuts, splayed those roots out, and put it in the ground. But if you have a plant that looks like this, it technically it needs a newer home, or it needs to be root pruned and then placed back in the pot. So you can do what I did with this one and cut it into quarters on the root mass itself. Or if it doesn't look like this and all the mass is at the bottom of the pot, it's just becoming root bound and it has nice healthy roots around the sides, where inside the container of that soil, when you pull it out, all that mass on the bottom, you can take your hori knife and just cut that, like, I don't know, 1 inch or 2 inches off the bottom. Just all of a sudden, just cut it off on most plants, especially if they're healthy, and they'll be fine. And then you can replant it in that pot with some new soil, or place it in a bigger pot, pot it up, and then you're giving it revitalization and helping it with new soil, and it's a really good thing.
It is. Or in this case, we didn't put it back in the pot; we put it in the ground.
Yes.
So as long as you've got a good spot, and like you mentioned, this plant, we had some people comment on that video. I remember now, and they're like, "Wow, you shouldn't maybe." They don't like to be transplanted. They're probably not going to do well. This thing grew for a couple years and got to almost 7-8 feet tall.
Yeah, it was about almost 8. Yeah.
It was huge and beautiful. It almost looked like a tropical palm tree.
Mm-hmm.
But again, sadly, it just it didn't quite make it through this past
winter. And this one actually had a double leader. It actually broke off, or it was, it had, while it was growing in the pot at your mom's, it actually had another part of it grow off of it. So it had a double leader coming off. It was beautiful, and it was fun to watch grow. All our other ones were just single leaders coming up. So anyway.
I know, that's sad. So we actually have a project in the works right now where we're sadly removing all of our personal cordylines from the pots and composting them, but then we get to reuse the containers for all the new plants. So
silver lining.
It's I'm thinking of Valerie right now, because you always remind me of that. Like, it's not sad plant death. It's adding to the compost pile and then get to.
It's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity. Yeah. I like that.
And we have all those new plants
that we will show you
that we want to plant in containers, and now we have containers to plant them. So anyway,
it's kind of like plant mania in the yard right now, so it's very fun.
A little bit.
But another place you might see root-bound plants is, we were talking about this yesterday, bringing plants home from the nursery or the garden centers. Often, especially a lot of the annuals, they've been growing and growing for months, behind the scenes, like before they even get out to market. So often you will see a whole bunch of root, circling and just different things. So
you can, and it's always below the ground. It's what we can't see a lot of the times that the plants can show us, but we have to go look for it. We have to either dig down or we have to pull them out of their pots. So really quick, Tracy has a question here. Tracy, you said, I can't move all my containers. How do you protect your containers when winter hits?
Great question.
Really good question. Yeah. And so what I would do if I can't move containers, I like to bring in mulch, and I like to do what's called healing in. And basically, you surround your containers with mulch, and you insulate around the side. You just kind of mound it down. There's another way to do this too, where you can dig holes either in the ground or place, if they're smaller containers. You said you can't move them, they're too big. So if they're larger containers, if you can mulch them, great. If they're on like if they're out in the garden. If they're on a patio, that makes it a little interesting. But what you can do is you can possibly put like a tarp around them, and even if you put some cardboard or something on the inside of that, kind of insulate it with some different things. You can do stuff like that, or even just plastic. If you just even have poly plastic, that is better than nothing. Yeah, we understand what you're saying because we couldn't. There were some of those. Well, some of the cordyline
Yeah, I
we
was just
couldn't
thinking
move.
of the same. It was cordyline from our old garden when they were in the ground,
Well,
right?
even in the containers where we had the ones we couldn't. It was hard to get to
I forgot about
them.
that.
They were super heavy and big, heavy
Yeah,
clay pots. I mean, it is what it is. So
you kind of wrap them and hope for the best,
yeah.
right? For
Oh,
a couple days,
yeah.
as best you can. I hope that
So
helps, Tracy.
yeah,
I
me
know
too. I mean,
it
what
is.
do you think? Do you have any
Well, I mean, I'm
suggestions?
thinking like, yeah, if we have probably like you, like a lot of very large containers and they're
Hmm.
heavy, you can't just move them around. Couple options that I thought of maybe too. You could also add. This might be hard at first, but then it would make it really easy later on. You can get those little. I always call them scooters, but you know the little caddies with the rollers,
They're caddies, but they're saucers with wheels.
saucers with wheels. So you could kind of carefully and maybe get some help, tip the pot up and just get it up on top of that if that's an option, and then you can roll it around wherever you want. They have
Especially
like stoppers and stuff so they don't roll around on their own.
especially if they have larger wheels, if they're not just caster wheels, but they're actual like wheels. They make some. They're out there. I can't remember who has them. I know Crescent Gardens got some good sized ones, but
Yeah, that's
I
what I'm
don't
thinking of
know.
theirs
I
too.
don't know if they'll work in a like out in a
I
garden
know. I wonder how that
like
would
in
work.
grass and stuff. They're usually they're made for more like patios or concrete or something like that or decks.
So
But
that could be like a fix for the future, you know, even if you're adding a new pot, maybe like add that under it because there's a
hmm
couple that I wish we had done that with in the
hmm
past.
me too.
But the other thing is, yeah, just like you said, just cover, like if like this past winter, we knew there was some weather coming, really bad cold weather, but for us, we live so far away from our garden right now,
Hmm.
we weren't able to get in and just cover everything. But if had we been there, yeah, we would have just wrapped it, even boxes. I mean, anything you can,
Well,
right, to just sort of insulate.
and when I said that too, Tracy, I meant just the container. Don't do the whole plant. If you want to, you can. If you don't think the whole plant's gonna be okay out in the cold weather, then definitely wrap the whole plant. If the above ground part of the plant is supposed to be hardy in our area, but the below, the roots are exposed, just cover the pot area. I want to be more specific, just to make
Yeah,
sure. Don't cover the whole plant, because you can block photosynthesis and you can block, airflow and that type of thing. So that might not be best for the plant. So anyway,
in the long term. I remember we have covered full on plants before, but we did it like for like overnight and then we
yeah.
came back in the morning.
Well, and they weren't like trees or really tall standing plants because if you cover a plant like that, it can almost you run the risk of damaging that part of it because if the wind
Yeah,
comes
that's
or
a good point.
snow, it weighs it down, it snaps it. So anyway,
I know that's true. And Tracy
so
just let us know she has rocks, so wheels would not work. So yeah, never mind on that
cool thing
option.
about the rocks though, if your containers are out in the rocks, hopefully those rocks are receiving the sunlight and they're storing that sunlight and that radiated heat. And then at night they're radiating back out. So that is a really great situation
That's
where
true.
if you
Yeah.
need to, right before, in the colder times of year here, wrap the container in plastic around the plant. Don't cover the whole plant like I was talking about. Cover and wrap up the container. And then any heat from those rocks will radiate up overnight and keep those roots nice and warm under that tarp.
That's a good point. I know. That's true. I
So,
forgot about that.
yeah, rocks are
Rocks
amazing in
are
our gardens
they're
out here
just
anyway. I don't know about
they're
other
like little
places. I think in
ovens.
I think in Arizona everybody says don't put your plants in the rocks because
No,
it's
'cause it'll
so
fry
it's so
everything.
hot. But up here it works pretty well.
That's really I like that.
So anyway,
So
yeah,
silver lining.
hope that helps. And Neri's here. Hi, Neri.
Oh, I know. I was going to say that we Neri, hi, and then Neri has a really good question.
Oh,
One of Neri's containers is full of aphids. Sorry,
oh, sorry,
but it
Neri.
also has a couple of ladybugs. What can I do?
Ooh.
So ladybugs, I hear that, and I'm like, okay, well that's a good thing because
Well, if the
they're
ladybugs are in
predatory.
close proximity to the aphids, they should help out with that, depending on how many aphids you have. Um, you always have the option to spray, but most insecticide sprays, even the organic ones, are more broad spectrum. They're not selective as an insecticide. So if you put something down, even organic like neem oil, you run the risk of also harming the beneficial insects like your ladybugs. So it's kind of like,
I know.
what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to do it? You could technically go in and spray just the aphids. Usually, I think they say use the neem oil in the mornings or in the cooler times of day, just so it's easier on the plant. And so, that time of day. and just spray the aphids. Try not to spray any ladybugs or beneficials. Neem oil works really well for us, and it's really great too because what the stuff we use, and it's just called neem oil. I can't remember. There's no branding or anything with it. It's organic. It's an organic based product. You're supposed to spray it once a week. That's it. You don't spray it any other time. You don't spray it every day or anything. You're supposed to use it once a week. So that makes it a lot easier to maintain and use. So anyway, I don't. Besides that, I mean, water.
Yeah,
spray it off.
That's kind of what we've been doing lately with the aphids.
If you have a really tough plant that can take like even just a gentle spray, a washing of water, use your hose and get in there and just wash all the aphids off and try to knock them off the plant and drown them, I guess.
I know. I just kind of let nature take its course a little bit with as far as the ladybugs. And...
Yeah, I think what some people do too, is they'll use the water and they'll put a bucket of water underneath it, and then they wash the aphids off and they try to collect them in the bucket of water, so then they have nowhere to go, and then they just die in the water.
Yeah.
So, but besides that, gosh, Neri, I hope. Tell us what kind of plant it is too, if you can. I'm interested to know what plant they're on.
Yeah, because usually, like for example, the aphids. Well, we didn't have too many aphid problems last summer, but the summer before we did. On the lupin.
Yes.
Is that what you were thinking of?
Yes.
We love our perennial lupin. It's beautiful. It's
an aphid magnet.
And we love the flowers. Sometimes you don't even see them because they just blend in with the plant, stems and leaves and whatnot. But usually we just hose them off, the aphids.
Yep.
That does help a little bit. Sometimes
it's kind of a mix between washing them off and the neem oil.
If it gets really bad.
Yeah. So
or we just let the lupin collect the aphids because it keeps them away from other things, maybe. So
I like Angela. Thank you for that. That's really great what you put in the chat there. It definitely echoes what we were talking about.
Yeah,
so good.
And I wanted to say hi to Angela too. Angela said it's so hot in Albuquerque. It's 100 degrees already.
Whoa.
Angela said her sweet peas are frying and they're healthy, but the plants barely last a day and the wind's really bad. So we're like, hang in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be out in that weather. Gosh, 100 degrees.
I'm wondering, I know there's a heat wave going on. We're getting it here too. Actually, today I think is the hot day in our area in Washington State. It's like supposed to be kind of 80 in some spots, which is pretty hot.
I haven't been checking the weather lately. I've had my head down.
I know, we've been so busy. But it looked like the U.S. is kind of, certain spots are getting kind of a big heat wave right now. So
yeah, everybody be careful.
Heat bubble, heat dome things they call it, I think.
Stay hydrated and wear your hats.
Stay inside if you can.
Yep, do your work in the morning.
Yeah, right. Neri wants to know morning or afternoon for the spraying, I'm assuming she's referring to. I would get out in the morning.
I would do in the morning too, because in the afternoon, Neri, it could be... It could be more stressful on the plant if you do it in midday or even in the evening, because that's when all the heat's accumulated over the day. The plant's at its highest stress level. In the mornings, usually it's cooler, and the plant's just kind of waking up. It's at its lowest respiratory rates, and that's a good time to get in there and just wash those off. And then it's not as stressful on the plant as it would be later on.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, you guys are probably really sick of looking at this slide. Let's
moving on. Okay.
So, here's a fun story.
Yep.
So, number 2 on the list here of plant unhappiness could be a visible sign of stunted growth. Now, let's say you planted a plant, it's supposed to be a certain mature height, within the next, usually plants reach maturity by 2-3 years, hopefully, for a perennial.
Depending
on the
plant. It depends. It really
years.
Depends if it's a hardwood, like you see here, a hardwood deciduous, or if it's a herbaceous perennial. I mean, a lot of plants are different, but anyway, it's just, so look at the plant and just kind of know your plant a little bit, know how tall it's supposed to get, how long it's supposed to live, like a lot of lavender plants out there, 5 to 7 years in a lot of landscapes, at least in our area. And then they kind of peter out. They get kind of leggy. A lot of people, replace them. They pull them out and replace them. So in this case, we've got an El Nino.
This is a really cool plant for proven winners. They sent this to us. Now, the backstory of this plant, they sent this to us last May, I believe. And it was in, like a 1 gallon pot, 1 gallon, 2 gallon size.
Two, 3, yeah.
It wasn't like huge, but
No.
what happened is, well, there were other plants that were sent to us around this time as well. There's a couple we still haven't planted yet, but we left it in that size all year because we didn't have anywhere to put it yet. We weren't ready to plant it, so it was healthy enough, and we made sure it was watered and everything. So we left it in that size all the way through that whole year, through the winter. We just planted it probably a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Kind of forgetting time. So this is what it looks like right now. And
so in most cases with a lot of plants, the backstory leading up to the issue matters. And what matters is how was it growing? Where was it growing? Under what conditions? How much water was it getting? Was it root bound? In this case, it was definitely root bound. So it got planted.
Yeah.
It got planted in a larger pot. It got root pruned. And but being in that little container, that smaller container, and being root bound for so long, it will stunt a plant's growth to a point. And so that's what we're seeing a little bit here. This plant actually should be not twice as big as it is right now, but at least another half size up from where it is.
But fuller too, like more foliage.
It should have more. Yeah, it should have more of a canopy to it. It should have more branching, and because we kept it in the container for so long, it kind of held it back a little bit. So now it's in this container. It's looking better. It's getting into it's under better growing conditions, so it will really start growing better. But yeah, so looking at a plant, knowing how big it's supposed to be, and knowing part of its backstory of how it was grown and how it was treated before you start noticing the stunted growth does matter to try and figure out why are you seeing this.
Yeah.
So
and it looks a little goofy, but I kind of like it though. It's cute.
It almost looks like 3 or 4 little pom-poms.
I know, that's what I think. It's like little.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I did add a couple other annuals just to the front of that pot that we'll show you soon. We'll probably be doing a tour at some point because there's a
June
lot to show
tour.
You. But it'll be in July though with all the new plants.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it'll kind of just fill in for the season, but they're shallow rooted. They're not going to disturb the plant or like compete.
Yeah.
And then we'll pull them out. So
a way to fix this too, another way to fix this is revitalize the soil. Not only root prune it, plant it in a new container, but use nutrient-rich compost in that soil or a topsoil that you can then fertilize. Get those nutrients down in there so it can start sucking them up and really get robust and start growing and living its best life in its new container. So yeah, so this is a really good example of that.
Which we, just to back up, we did when we replanted this, what we did, we broke up the roots a little bit. We planted it with nutrient-rich soil, and then we added biotone into the soil, mixed it in, and then planted it. So,
and that's from Espoma Organics, if you don't know that. So
we love Espoma.
Yeah, so this is a good example of that. Anybody? Oh, no.
Yeah, okay. If you guys have any plants that look like this, or that you're thinking, wow, it's not really growing the way it's supposed to, just give it some time, right? These aren't overnight fixes, right?
That's not what I was asking, but that's okay.
Oh,
I was asking if there was anything new in the chat, and
no,
it doesn't look like it, so that's okay. So yeah,
But I was just saying, kind of like, I don't know, I want it to look right. I get impatient, and it's like, it'll be okay.
Yeah. So from stunted growth, let's move into less flowers. You might have noticed your plants are flowering less now they're in their containers, and you're like, why are my plants flowering less? What's going on? What is happening with my plant? Well, a couple things could be going on where it is root bound. The nutrient, it's not in nutrient-rich soil anymore. The plant hasn't been, that soil hasn't been updated for that plant. And so again, this can lead to being unhealthy in a container. And so, get those roots pruned, pot it up, get it in new soil, get that fertilizer on it. And so a way to look at this, just, get in there and visibly look at your plant and see, am I seeing things? Am I imagining this? Or am I actually seeing this? And look for any, flower buds that are supposed to develop. Know when your plant is supposed to flower. Realize when it's supposed to flower, and does that fit with the timeline you're looking at it right now? And then always shore up your watering. Is it in the correct spot, location for sun? Again, is the soil correct? Is it draining properly? Does it have drain holes in the container? It's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
So anyway, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but anyway, so these are all things that can help a plant to snap out of its stress and be happier and bring flowers.
So backstory on this. So this is a hot lip salvia cutting that we took a couple years ago, right before we moved. We had a beautiful big hot lips plant in our yard. We loved it. The hummingbirds loved it. I mean, it was beautiful. So we took cuttings of it before we moved so we could have it. And here is the last cutting. This was actually last year's photo. It looks it's got a little rehab going on right now, currently, but we're growing it in a Smart Pot fabric container. It grew really well until this point. So,
well, actually, this actually looks better than it does right now.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's what I was just saying. It's kind of in rehab mode.
Well,
right now.
this isn't even the current picture of it. It got blasted last winter too, like a lot of our other plants, because of the cold snaps we had repeatedly. And so it's very little. It even has probably not even half the leaves it does now, and there's 1 or 2 flowers on it right now.
It's so sad.
So we need to do some work with that, and maybe we'll make a video about
I know.
that.
Well, I was going to ask you, but we can wait on that. I was going to say, like, what should we do with that? But
yeah. It needs to be repotted. It needs to be in a new container. It needs new soil. It needs a lot of pruning, and it needs a lot of TLC. So we'll get to it.
We love our hot lips. We will bring it back.
Yep. So again, less flowering is definitely a sign that your plant in a container is unhappy, but there's a lot you can do about it. So, and let's get up here. All right. There you go.
Yeah, number 4. Okay, so this is maybe a little bit more obvious one for you because you're like possibly seeing it in the yard. We've got a couple plants going through this right now where the foliage looks yellow. You know, it's not supposed to have that yellow tinge to it, or a different color, you know, like maybe a little bit of a purple or a pink or a brown even. So the foliage just visibly doesn't look right to you. So it could be, there's caveats always, right? It could be a nutrient deficiency going on, right?
Yeah, each plant's different, and so a lot of plants need a lot of different things. Yeah, like Allison said, a nutrient deficiency. Again, the fertility and drainage of that soil it's in. If it hasn't been repotted in a couple of years, it's probably time to do that anyway. And then you can hedge your bets and feel like, well, I'm taking care of the plant in that way anyway, in general. And then it might snap out of it, it might not, but you need to probably do that anyway. Also, it could be aeration. You know. Again, if the plant hasn't been repotted in a while and it hasn't, had that aeration, the soil broken up or, roughed up a little bit around those roots, the plant could be lacking oxygen. And so that comes down to, drainage and different things. So yeah, there's a lot of things that can happen with the plant. And it could also be just the location it's set. Maybe when you set it out in your garden, it was perfectly placed, just in the right amount of sun, just in the right amount of shade. And then, things shift, trees come down, trees get limbed up, different things happen around a garden. Something grows up in front of it or something, and it changes the whole growing situation. So look at all these different things and try and understand what your plant's needs are and what's happening right now, or what led up to what's happening right now.
Yeah. Do you guys, you guys watching in the chat, do you have any plants that look like, that have some situations that are going on that you're not quite sure about? Definitely let us know in the chat so we can try to help.
Yeah, definitely. So, okay, that's number 4. Number 5, your plant is huge.
Like this lupin that we love so much. We talked about a little bit ago. Yeah. Can you actually see the container that it's planted in? That doesn't always mean that it's, unhappy, but often it could, because
like this plant, you can't see the container. And so that can be a problem because, it's top heavy. It's got more mass above than it does down below. And if you think in general about a plant's shoots to roots ratio, each plant has a different little bit of a ratio from the others, but there's a balance there. And if you've got more on top than you do down below, it's out of balance. It's just, in general, that's just usually how plants work. So it can get top heavy and it can get stressed out. When a plant is under these conditions, it's definitely stressed, and insects, they understand this. They can sense it. So they go to the plants that are most stressed because they're the most vulnerable to infestations and, getting that, and for those insects to get in there and do what they want to do, which is usually bite on the plant, suck on the plant, and just not be good neighbors or anything like that. So under these conditions, it's always good to make sure if you're seeing a plant that's really top heavy, it's got more up above than it does down below, get it into a new container, look at the roots, break them up if you need to, get them into new soil. In this case, for this lupin, it just keeps growing and growing and growing.
Kind of happy because until it gets stressed. So it's like a gamble a little bit. It's a beautiful plant. We grew this from seed many years ago, and this was actually I think this was a division we took from plant in our old yard, which got very big in the ground. We had it in the ground. We had it one into containers. So yeah, this thing is just massive, and it blows whenever it's windy. It blows over.
Yep. So this is a Russell lupin. And just to make sure you guys know that what kind it is, and yeah, it just keeps growing, and it dries out really easy. And when another thing is if you see a huge plant and it dries out really easy, that means there's probably a lot more roots down in that container than there is soil, and the water's just rushing through around the outside of the container, around the perimeter, on the inside of the container where the soil comes up, and so that's another good sign. It needs to be repotted. It needs new soil, and I know this plant needs new soil because it's been in this container for at least a year now, and it's really top heavy. So yeah, so
it's kind of
move this out of the way.
So how to fix it? Rehome it into a new pot into the ground. I'm not really quite sure what we're gonna do with this one yet, right?
Me either.
Because we want to keep it. We love it. Depending on the plant, you could divide it and share it with somebody, and then or put part of it in the ground, keep part in the container. You could root prune it, right?
You're probably going to end up root pruning it anyway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So, yeah. And so these are 5 different examples of unhappy plants in containers. There are more. I'm sure there are. And if you have any, if you have any ideas of more ideas of unhappy plants, like signs of it, let us know in the chat. We'd love to hear what you think about this and what you've run into, what your experiences are with this. So yeah. So that's fun.
Containers are fun though, and they're so versatile for your plants, and there's so many things you can do with them. So yeah, it is fun. It's just a little bit of maintenance, once in a while when the plant gets too big. So yeah, let us know what you think, and if you have any of these problems, we're with you. Those were all our plants from our yard that we need to do something with.
They're all fixable. These are all fixable issues. Until the plant's actually on its deathbed or it's dead, then you can't do really anything about it. But all these things, once you find them, if you find them in time, it's all fixable. They're all very fixable things. So if you're seeing this out in your garden, don't stress out about it. It's not too big of a worry yet, unless your plant's literally flopping over and it's dead. So I hope that was helpful. Well,
here, I was going to check this out, but Neri just asked, she's kind of tired of moving containers around every fall. Any suggestions for keeping them in the garden, I think is what you're asking. But maybe give us, if I didn't word that correctly, let me know. So like you don't want containers anymore, or you want to keep them, but you don't want to move the plants back and forth. Is that kind of, I'm not sure I understand.
It kind of sounds like option B there. So let me read that. I am tired to move containers every fall. Any suggestion to keep them in the garden? Okay, Neri, yeah. If you just want to keep them in the garden, there's a couple things you can do. Keep the containers where they're at. Pull the plants out. Break up the roots, root prune, put them back in the container with new soil. Something we came across recently from our friend Cindy Funes. From Garden Revelry. She's got her own channel here on YouTube too. She's a container expert. She told us about this one way of actually root pruning container plants while they're still in the pot. You don't even have to pull the whole thing out. And literally what you do is you have your container and you go around the perimeter and cut away, depending on how big the plant is and how big the container is, prune, literally cut away from about 2 inches to maybe 4 inches out from the rim of the container going into the container. Cut all the way around it with like a hori-hori knife or a trowel or something. You can remove that soil and those roots and then refill with new soil, pack it in there, and then the plant stays in the container right where it's at. You're not lifting it out and breaking your back or tipping it over or doing anything goofy like that. And you revitalize all those roots around that plant.
Yeah.
That's an option. Also, if you don't want to move the plants, especially for the cold, besides revitalizing the soil like I was just talking about, bring in if your plants are out in the garden, bring in mulch around and heel in your containers. We were talking to Tracy about this a little bit earlier. Put mulch around them, insulate those roots. If you can't do that because of other plants around those containers, or your containers are on like a patio, some type of rock or something like that, put a tarp around it. Put a tarp around the container itself and or the whole plant, or plastic. You can get away with just polyethylene plastic, and try and insulate the plant that way. And like we were telling Tracy earlier too, if the plants are on rocks or around some type of concrete over the day, even in the wintertime, all of that concrete, all that material on the ground, it retains the heat from the day, from the sun, and then it radiates it back out, right? Well, if you have your containers packed around with a tarp or polyethylene or anything, that heat will get trapped and help keep those containers insulated from the cold that way too. Those tarps or whatever will hold that heat longer than if it wasn't there around the container. So there's that too. So hopefully that helps, Neri.
Neri's in Utah, right? So it's probably like cold winters and not wanting to move.
Zone 5, Zone 6, something like that. It's like Intermountain West.
Yeah. So yeah, we hear you. I mean, again, the other option, we kind of sound like broken record, but also what we said to Tracy earlier is there any way to put your containers up on like little, I keep forgetting what those are
saucers on wheels.
Saucers on wheels, or little scooters, that you could keep them on all year, or even just to move them. That might make transporting faster and easier on your back. So I don't know, just
some good ideas.
There's some creative ways to maybe do that, and we can talk with you more about that if you need any more help.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But yeah, let's see. We wanted to let you guys know. We said this the last live, but that was a couple weeks ago. But we've got some different partnerships and whatnot that we want to make sure that we always share with you guys, because there's discounts. And maybe if you don't even need anything right now, but you need, there's something in the future you're looking for, or if you know people that are out shopping for bulbs or containers or whatnot, we want to share these promotional things that we've organized with these partnerships we have.
Deals. These are deals. Yes. So we've partnered with these companies. They're great companies, all three of them, and they have great products. We've talked about each one of these, I think, before with you guys. If you don't know, Eden Brothers Seeds and Bulbs, great company out of North Carolina. There's a coupon code for 15% off. You want to get ahead of the season on any seeds or bulbs you want to buy. Crescent Garden, great, durable, self-watering technology containers. They also have just regular containers, and they're great to design with for main entrances, for formal settings. And then there's Smart Pots, which is the fabric containers, and those are really fun and versatile. If you have a small space to garden in and they have a lot of different options for sizes and shapes too.
Yeah, they do.
So, yeah.
So there's that. And then we've got our little Divvy XL. If you're seed sowing either now or soon, because we were just talking yesterday that we're going to start maybe seed sowing for late summer blooms, or it's kind of a little too early to get into the fall blooming stuff yet, right? Didn't we decide?
Yeah, it's a little early, but
not quite there yet.
Yeah, not yet. But also, if you're still sowing lettuce or any of the cooler season crops, or you're getting into the warmer season crops, and you're going to direct sow now, since it's June, you're going to direct sow out into your garden. The divvies are great for that too. So
yeah. So and 50% off.
Yeah, 50% off. Crazy.
So that's the most we've ever offered.
I know, it really is. We've never done that before.
Help you guys out, our audience that hang out with us on the live. So we want to say thank you by offering, all of these to you. Almost all of these will last until the end of the year. Our Divvy coupon does expire at the end of June, but we might have another deal coming up soon after that. So
definitely. So just want to let you guys know about that. Let me click in around here.
And then one last thing to show you. Oh, thank you. Valerie says she loves her Divvy XL.
Thank you, Valerie.
We're really excited that you like it and that it's useful for you. That makes us so happy. So happy. And okay, so kind of wrapping things up, I guess, a little bit. We wanted to let you know, or do you want to?
Yeah. So next week, We're going to be talking about fertilizer options in your garden for more flowers and how you go about doing that. You know, there's always the NPK, right? The 3 numbers you see on the fertilizers that are available out there. What do those mean, and how do you use that and understand that to just get more flowers? So we're going to go over a lot of different things about that, some options for you. And then also today, later on, I think it's noon.
Yeah, it's a new,
well, at 12:20.
It's about 12:20. Yeah.
We're going to be on a different show live, and it's called Let's Get Growing. It's here on YouTube. It's hosted by Enoch, I think Graham.
Enoch Graham, yes.
And
we haven't met him yet.
Yeah, so this is going to be really fun. If you're interested, come join us there. We'll be on, the show starts at noon, but we'll be on around 12:20. So yeah, so wanted to let you know about that too.
I know, that's going to be really fun to be on someone else's live on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I guess the main show, they're having, you know the name.
Self-Sufficient. Yep, Self-Sufficient Me. He's from Australia. He's got a huge YouTube account. He's great to listen to. He's got a lot of good, a lot of great advice on vegetable growing and being self-sufficient. So really cool.
They're really cool. I'm not familiar. I've heard of the account before, but I'm not familiar with. I've never watched it before, so that's really fun. We're not going to really interact with him at all. I think our segments first, and then he comes on a little bit later. But we're really excited to just meet everybody over there and just say hi. So that'll be fun.
So yeah, come join us if you got the time.
And I believe we'll put a link to that. Gosh, how can everybody find it?
Find Let's Get Growing.
Let me go to
on YouTube.
Okay.
And
here, I'll find some.
Yeah, and so the live for today, it's up there already. So just search for Let's Get Growing, and you'll be able to find that link. Allison's going to find it here and pop it in the chat. But if you can't do that for whatever reason, you got that option too. Just go search for it. So yeah, it's a fun day today. So hopefully you're going to get out in your garden today if you haven't already, and get some planting done, get some watering done, maybe some fertilizing, and definitely again make sure to be here with us next Saturday. We're going to go over all that fertilizer information for more flowers.
I know, that's very relevant right now. I know. Actually, Neri had a question already. How often do you fertilize containers?
Depends on the plant.
I know, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, good question, Neri. It depends on the plant. You know, if it's a vegetable or an annual, you can get away with probably once a week, depending on which fertilizer you use too. If you're using a time release fertilizer, like a pellet or a granule or something like that, you just put it down as the package says, and then as you water it, it just fertilizes a little bit every time. But if you're not using that and you're using more of a liquid fertilizer like a Miracle Grow or something like that mixes in water, you can do it once a week, every 2 weeks. It just depends on the plant and how fast it grows. For perennials, it's usually a little bit better about maybe every 2 weeks to a month, because they don't grow as fast usually as the annuals do. And so they don't need all that extra nutrients, and you just be wasting it anyway. Just go through the soil and it's out the bottom and nothing really happens with it. It doesn't get used. So yeah, and so it depends on your goals too. So
lots of caveats.
Yeah.
As always.
Yep.
Gardening's fun. And Tracy just said it's a great day to garden, and we could not agree more.
Yes, it's beautiful today.
I know it is. And I guess that's kind of a wrap for us for today, right?
I think so too.
Oh, and Tracy, I'm glad to hear that. Because her foot has been.
Oh yeah, Tracy.
I know.
Yeah.
We've been thinking about you.
Yeah, we have. Thank you for telling us. And gosh, yeah, PT can be hard, but yeah, that's really great. You're doing better. Yeah.
I'm so glad that that it's helping. And yeah, thank you guys. Thank you to everybody for showing up and hanging out in the chat. And those of you watching the replay, thank you so much for being here. Let us know you were here by commenting and just saying hi. And yeah, we hope to see you. We're excited for next week.
Yep. Thanks for being here, everybody. We'll see you next week. Until then, be safe out there.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.